to this episode of the People Dividend. I'm Mike Horne, your host, and I am thrilled to have in the virtual studio today Roseanne Garza. She is the Chief Human Resources Officer for Kerbey Lane. And during her time at Kerbey Lane, the organization has more than doubled in size and has won several prestigious awards related to their impact in the community and on team members. Prior to joining Kerbey Lane in 2006, Roseanne built her career in the restaurant and hospitality industry, working with a destination hotel and resorts in Brinker International. I'm familiar with Brinker. A member of Kerbey Lane's executive leadership team, she leads the execution of Kerbey Lane's people strategy, as well as builds organizational capability and team member culture to further enable Kerbey Lane's growth and impact. She serves as the strategic business advisor to senior leadership and the managing partners of each location regarding key organization and management issues. I'm really delighted to have Roseanne here. She's on the Texas Society for Human Resources Management, Texas CHRO, Executive Council, State Director. I've spoken at two CHRO conferences recently, so we have a lot to connect there. And well, Roseanne, I'm just so glad that you're here. Why don't you say a few words about yourself to our audience?
Well, hi, Mike. I am honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I am a big fan of the podcast, and I am honored to share some time and some space with you and your listeners. So thank you so much. A little bit about me. I think you really you gave really the detailed version. That's the rundown, right? I live in Austin, Texas. So right now we are recording and it's still incredibly warm, even though it should be full-blown fall. And let's see, I'm a dog mom. I love restaurants and I'm a foodie. I've always worked in hospitality in some form or fashion, starting at the age of 16 until now. And let's see, really, those are some of the big personal highlights.
Well, it's such a fascinating industry. I was at Marriott International for a good chunk of my career, doing different things, but it's such a fascinating business. And let's talk about your Kerbey Lane, though, and their involvement in social responsibility and volunteerism that shapes the company. Can you say some things about that, please, Roseanne?
Yeah, of course. So I think that one of the things that in today's society we're really lacking is perspective and really flexing those muscles of having some of those tougher conversations and the conversations with a person of a differing opinion than your own. And so one of the ways that we really try to bring that into the business is really having our team members out in the community beyond their everyday job. And that's through doing volunteer work with a ton of local community organizations, whether it be the Ladybird Wildflower Center or Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Texas, Austin Pets Alive, so that they're working with animals. We really make it a focus to have volunteer activities, give them perspective, but it's also about us giving back to the community that has given so much to us. And we really find that kind of getting outside of ourselves enables people to really have that perspective and that grace for other people. And I think that's what we're really lacking in the world. So this is
that's so cool that you're able to engineer that. And you've been at Kerbey Lane for a good chunk of time recently. Did you really help bring this involvement in social responsibility and volunteerism to the company?
I did. So social responsibility has always been something that's paramount to our leadership and to our ownership, but it was something that I really took a step further. As you mentioned at the top of the podcast, I'm involved in Texas CHRO, which is a full-blown volunteer organization for HR professionals. I have always volunteered. Growing up, I lived in a household that it wasn't just about, yes, we had our chores to cut the yard or do the dishes, but in addition to that, we had volunteer hours every month that our parents really instilled in us, like, this is how you be the change in the world, and this is how you positively impact others, and this is how you learn about people. And so that's something that I really helped to bring to Kerbey, and it's been really successful.
Well, that's great. I recently spoke at two CHRO events. One was the CHRO NorCal conference, the largest HR conference on the West Coast, on the topic of intergenerational diversity and AI and EI and how all of this is coming together in ways that people can tell stories in organizations. And then earlier at a local SHRM event in San Francisco on the topic of AI and its increasing use in human resources. So I want to come back to this, to you and Kerbey Lane and all the work that you've done there using your people and culture expertise. How do microcultures contribute to a more inclusive and welcoming work environment?
Yeah, so I really think that one of the ways, we're seeing the most diversity in the workforce that we've ever seen, the most generations that we've ever seen. And I think it's really easy for everyone to kind of get stuck in their own lane and really not look outside themselves. So we really try to foster ways for them to interact, not just inside their own location, but really across all of our locations and across, the whole family of Kerbey Lane. And so there's a lot of ways we do that. Some of that is through, just interest groups of, hey, I love musical theater, or hi, I've got a rescue dog. Do you have a rescue dog? So really making it human, making it about the people, about their interests. That's one way we do it. We also do it through our mentorship program. I think mentorship as a whole is really changing the way that we look at it. Historically, it's been very, I have this one need and this or I have 50 needs and this one person is going to solve all of them for me. And that's just not really realistic in today's world. So we really go at it much more of like small increments and small movement, and multiple mentors and mentees, and peer mentorship too. And so that really breaks down a lot of those barriers and really helps them to kind of show up as themselves at work.
Hey, Roseanne, and this is great too. I mean, given how many in our audience are in human resources and interested in this industry, what are some of the common misconceptions or challenges you've encountered when it comes to mentorship?
Well, number one is always, I don't have time, right? I mean, you hear that, you hear that on both ends. I think that all of us are, you spread very thin, no matter who you are, no matter what responsibilities you have in and out of work. So many of our team members have more than one job. A lot of them are obviously, part of a family, or their parents, or they're going to school. And so we get a lot of, I don't have time, which is why we really changed our model and went with smaller, shorter commitments. I don't want anyone to think, hey, this is a third job for you. Or a fifth job for you. This is really, it's about connecting. It's about having a meaningful connection for a shorter period of time and helping someone get through or over a hump. It's not about solving every single problem, and it doesn't have to be a lifetime or a career time commitment or connection.
Well, it's always great to have someone of your stature, Roseanne, on our podcast. I mean, you've served Texas SHRM in so many ways: state director-elect, assistant state director, district director, core leadership area directors, district director, workforce readiness. Austin SHRM, president-elect, vice president of programs. And just this year, Austin SHRM named you the 2024 HR Executive Leader of the Year at their HR Excellence Awards. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment.
Well, thank you. You're making me feel very, very old, very senior.
Well, that's isn't my intent, because certainly what you're doing at Kerbey Lane and in your approach to people and culture is presenting something that's very youthful. And I don't mean that in terms of an age-bound thing, but you are talking about in your work as an HR professional how people from younger generations combat societal pressures to move from company to company. How do you combat that, where particularly people are motivated by maybe 75 cents more an hour?
Well, that's actually, it's very, very much so something that we've dealt with, right? The last several years, as I said at the top of the podcast, I've always only ever worked in hospitality in some form or fashion. And what I've seen in this industry in the last 5 years is completely new So what I did 5 years ago as an HR person is no longer how it looks. And so I think really remaining agile, and I think that that's one of the biggest things that the last couple of years have taught me and should be teaching others is fail fast, right? Like I think we used to have this, and I was guilty of it for years and years. I could convince myself out of anything. I very much, I was like, well, that won't work because of this, or we need to do, 3 rounds of testing, or, a lot of red tape, as one would say. And really the way I go at things now is like, okay, let's identify a problem, let's listen to some solutions, and let's do some experiments, and let's really see, where do we move the needle, what's working, what's not working. How do we get people not to leave for 75 cents? Well, I think first and foremost, myself as well as the rest of our leadership, we really lead with our hearts. And that's really what we teach. That's what we teach our team. I'm really proud of where we are today as an organization. We had several hard years recently, and we've really come out of it actually stronger and better than before. And so I think so much of that has been, our philosophy around caring for each other and making sure that our team members know, like, this isn't just a place of employment. We aren't, you aren't just a number, and this isn't just a paycheck. We truly genuinely care, and this is a community, and we're going to take care of you from start to finish.
Well, these are such important concepts, Roseanne, and I'm so on the bandwagon with you. I love the ideas of what you're doing in terms of leading from your heart, and you mentioned the word care several times. In my newest book, The People Dividend, Leadership Strategies for Unlocking Potential, this is what I'm talking about in the new era of management. Look, you may say, well, AI doesn't apply to the casual dining industry. Well, it does in so many ways. People have choices. I even think about, in terms of a short story, someone who comes to my home frequently for different services, an electrician. And I said to him on one of his recent visits, because it seems like we're always like doing something in this home. I said, well, where's your helper? The guy who moves the ladder around, or the person who moves the ladder around. And he said, oh, well, he left because he's going to get $1 more an hour at In-N-Out. And just trying to think about this, being on a food production line versus, sort of some of the autonomy that comes with being a helper in an entrepreneur's business, and recognizing what long-term value is maybe versus short-term value. All this is stuff that you're managing today, Roseanne.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and you've got to listen to your team, right? I mean, I look back at like our philosophy around benefits, from years ago, and it was really, let's have the gym membership, and let's have.
Oh yeah, right.
And I'm all for that. I love those things. I think they matter. But I'm working in an environment and a culture where $1 matters, 75 cents matters, where I'm in a city where cost of living just continues to get higher and higher and higher. We're the most expensive city in the state of Texas to live. And so when I look at that and when I talk to our team, they don't care about a gym membership. They care about paying the bills. And so we've really switched our philosophy from, okay, well, let's take money from that and let's find benefits that matter to them. And one of the ways that we did it was really easy in using what we already had, which was food. And so now they get an allowance. I mean, when they're working, they eat for free, but now they have an allowance to feed their family and their home a couple of days a week, so they don't have to worry about dinner. And that's a benefit that they love. And it's really not costing us any extra, but it makes a huge difference, and it takes a lot off of their plate. No pun intended. It takes a lot off their plate to really not have to worry about food, not worry about dinner, not worried about having to take care of their family that night.
Yeah, it's an expense you can eliminate on because you can plan for it at work. That's such an important thing. Look, we're both involved in CHRO in different ways. I mean, certainly you've provided so much volunteer leadership to that organization. It's a real tribute to your dedication to the field of people and culture and human resources. I've been more active in CHRO recently as an invited speaker, as a guest speaker, and in perhaps starting a CHRO chapter at the university where I lead the HR program. One of the things that, that's on all of our minds is civility, the CHRO initiative around civility at work. And I have a potential client who, we're considering an engagement for 5,000 people in the organization on civility. What do you think about this? What are the practical implications in a business like yours, Roseanne?
Yeah, well, I think that first and foremost, right, it is clearly something that we need in the world. I recently heard Jim Link say, which Jim is the CHRO of SHRM, and Jim said that the civility playbook is the most downloaded piece of information from SHRM in the history of SHRM. So HR people and probably people outside of HR really are needing that, wanting that, are hungry for that kind of information. And so I applaud them for their work on that. And of course, I support it. When it comes to our implications of stuff like that, we serve upwards of 60,000 people a week. So we are getting all makes, models of human. And I think it's really, really important, as I said earlier, teach grace. It's not my job or your job or anyone's job to know every single thing that's going on in someone's life. That's not the point. The point is about meeting the person wherever they are at that day and making the day better for them however you can.
Well,
And so
that really resonates with me.
good. There's no way. I can't know everything. You can't know everything. That's not the point. The point is showing up, giving grace, understanding, and really just adding to someone's day instead of subtracting. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and these are what I talk about in the People Dividend. I think it's this ability to, what I often tell my executive coaching clients is that, when you're encountering someone, you really don't know what happened to them 5 minutes before they walked into your office, and you don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes after they walk out of your office. But you do have this time to operate in the moment, to operate in the present time. And I think that's one of the things, where I coach executives in my 3, 6, or 12-month programs is on, let's bring a sense of hope here. Let's bring a sense of discernment. Let's figure out what's work and what's not work. And let's be present. And, for busy people, the easiest way to create inclusion is to say hello to someone, right? It's just start there if you don't know where else to start. It's a great technology.
Well, and it's so much nicer. It's so much easier to be nicer, right? Like,
Yes.
does anyone actually feel better when they're
Yeah.
not good to someone else? I don't. If I have an interaction that I feel like went poorly, I think about that over and over and I try to make it right. I mean, we don't, I think one of the things that we need to remember is we don't live on planet Fair, right? We live on planet Earth. And so, with that comes all kinds of feelings and all kinds of opinions and thoughts. And, it's really just our job as humans to be as kind as we can, as, take care of each other. I think that's the most important thing right now.
Boy, so true. Having led human resources teams, having been a human resources executive, a corporate human resources executive, on my most cynical days, I would always think, well, you can be terminated for any reason under the sun, as long as it's not an unlawful reason. Maybe somebody doesn't like, maybe you don't, whatever, right? And still to think about, how do you embed within an organization cultures of kindness and dignity and respect? Employment contracts are long broken on the employer side and on the employee side. We're seeing the dawn of the 4-day work week in the United States. We're seeing more of the gig economy, people stringing together life with several jobs because that's the way it goes. And the kind of leadership that you're doing in human resources, what do you see happening next in the workforce, as we move into 2025?
Well, I think that we're going to see, whatever occurs in this election, right? We're going to obviously have a new president, whoever it might be. And I think with that, we're going to have people who are really dealing with the fallout of that. And so I think, again, continuing to show kindness and grace and be respectful of each other, work together for a greater good. I'm a big proponent of obviously vote. I think it's very important to vote, but I also think it's also incredibly important how you show up in your everyday life and everyday world and at work and how you treat people. And that's going to make a bigger impact every single day than when you vote on occasion. And so I think that's big. I think obviously AI is going to continue to be a thing. And to quote Johnny C. Taylor, the SHRM CEO, AI is not going to replace people. AI is going to replace people who don't learn AI. And so it is part of our future. It can help us to be more effective and more efficient. And I think learning AI is really, really important. Those are a couple of big things coming.
Well, Roseanne Garza, I mean, such a fascinating um, interview with you, so much that you have to offer on helping people to thrive, your work on mentors and the modern mentee, about volunteerism and social impact. It's been so great. I know that people can find out more about your business at kerbeylanecafe.com, and we'll have all of this in the show notes. And of course, to reach out to you on LinkedIn at Roseanne Garza. And these are the places that people can get in touch with you. As we're into 2025 now, Roseanne, what's one piece of advice or guidance that you have for HR folks into this year?
Take time for yourself. Make sure that you're resting. Make sure that you're able to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. And whenever you find yourself possibly having a tough day or a cynical day, take a minute, take 5 minutes, and send appreciations out to people in your world, and it's going to make you feel a lot better. So I'll start right now. Mike, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's been incredible to have a conversation with you, and I'm thrilled to have been here.
Well, likewise, and I would echo that. So delighted to be in conversation with you today, Roseanne Garza. And until the next time, in the next episode of the People Dividend, stay well.